Hey, I'm Gaurav at Garden Talk Club, and you are at the right place to know more on this interesting topic, a major life-changing event and what you do. If you are new to this channel, I'm so glad you are here. My name is Gaurav, and I'm here to discuss an interesting topic. Let's get rolling. When a major life change upends your sense of self, 5 strategies to help anyone let go of the past, embrace a new identity, and move towards growth. Every career is made up of choices, but sometimes, even when we know we have made the right decision, we find ourselves longing for a foregone role or career path. How does this sort of dwelling on the road not taken affect us in workplace? And what can employees, managers, organizations do to help workers, friends, colleagues who may be experiencing some internal conflict with respect to their chosen career? Human beings have a complicated relationship with change. While it's both inevitable and essential for growth, change can also be deeply uncomfortable, especially if it feels involuntary or out of your control. As researchers focused on social change, we have spent the last many years studying how people react to drastic changes in their lives. There have been many interviews with people, discussions, survey who lost a desired identity, such as a former professional who is forced to move to lower status careers, as well as people trying to shed an undesirable or stigmatic identity such as former prisoner, working to reintegrate themselves in their communities. Interestingly, regardless of whether the changes were positive or negative, many of the people who have struggle to move on from their past identity and embrace their new selves. The feeling of stuckness, a phenomena that is called identity paralysis, often leaves people feeling angry, frustrated, hopeless about their current situation. However, it is also that some people were able to avoid identity paralysis, taking these major life changes in stride, embracing the new roles with positivity. Though we identify 5 strategies that can help anyone come to terms with the new identity, whether you are happy about the change or not, and move forward on a path of identity growth rather than identity paralysis. Mark a distinct break with the past, even if we know logically that our situation has changed. It can be difficult to get that change to really sink in. Many times people describe a key event that flipped a switch for them, a tipping point that empowered them to make and truly accept the change. Say, for example, some people who are trying to leave behind stigmatized past spoke about the significance of specific milestone, such as a birthday or birth of child, in helping them embrace their new identities. One person also tells us how 2 days in hospital he decided that the moment he woke up, he would rebirth, explaining that experience marked the end of his past and symbolic meaning way. To be clear, the actual event that marks the break is not what is important. Rather, the people who discussed or expressed a strong need for something that symbolically represented the end of a chapter in their life moving forward. This is consistent with prior work on, say, power of symbolic shift. For example, I quote a book and an author, Collister and Becoming an Ex-Catholic Nun, turned sociologist Helen found that even after making the decision to leave the convent, it was a moment of physically taking off the habit and donning women's clothes that marked the transition for many nuns, ex-nuns, and allowed them to leave to their old identity behind. So if you are struggling to disentangle your past and present selves, see if you can define a moment that can imbue with significance and articulate that to yourself. Also, those around you. Simply recognizing a specific moment as divided between the past and the present can help you extricate yourself from an identity that no longer relevant to your life. Very important.
Craft a story to tie the past and present together, of course, marking a distinct break with the past doesn't make the past disappear, nor should it. Your past is part of you, and a new identity can only take hold if it's connected to your priority or prior identities. As such, it's important to link your present to your past by crafting a narrative that's compellingly believable and easy to share with others. For example, say when spoken with an immigrant who was forced to give up his career as a civil engineer, high post, and become a trust taxi driver. When he told the story to himself and to others, he framed it around a narrative of parental sacrifice, explaining that he took on the new role for his children. Great, na? He described how happy he was for his kids and that setting up their lives at the expense of his own was a trade he was more than willing to make. Example number, banker took a similar approach to framing his story, expressing confidence that immigrating was very good decision. Believe me, not for myself, but for my family, my sons and daughter. They are very happy. Everybody is married. They have a happy life. Everybody has children, right? They are going to school. They are happy. That was his whole thought. Conversely, many others who come from troubled or stigmatized past embrace the narrative of a son or a fallen angel. In different ways, they have explained how darkness led them to light, how the new and promising paths forward would have been impossible without starting from their prior identities. Great. So that and those who are able to tell their own stories in the way that align with widely recognizable narratives were better able to make peace with their transitions and leave behind their old identities, expressing more positive sentiment about their current situation than those who did not do such craft stories. Acknowledge and work through challenge emotions. Part of what makes identity paralysis so difficult to overcome is that it isn't just your idea of who you are that gets stuck in the past. It can also cause you to get stuck in the emotions associated with that past. Whether you are ashamed of a prior role or decision, that is angry about circumstances that led you to your current situation, or a feeling of hopelessness, scared, or any other challenge, negative emotion, getting stuck in these feelings can block your transition, even if you are ready for cognitibility. To be sure, working on how you think about yourself is certainly an important component of making identity transition. But this emphasis on cognitive aspect can often leave the emotional side undervalued. Even if you have decided rationally that you want to move on, emotions can linger. Fair. And getting stuck in powerful negative emotions such as shame or anger can be paralyzing. Our identities are shaped by how we feel about them. So to make successful transition, we have to acknowledge and actively work on our emotions. One quote I give, no one is going to break the cycle until they accept who they are and what they have done also, and they forgive themselves. You cannot move forward until you forgive yourself. A lot of people don't know that, so they live in guilt and shame for long. Unquote. Across many instances, it's found that people who are best able to embrace their identities were those who recognized the emotions holding them back and proactively worked through those feelings. There are many strategies that can help when it comes to transforming negative emotions, but it is found that most of the effective ones were to intentionally activate opposing positive emotion. For example, one worker who was forced to change careers due to an injury described she was able to move past her shame by focusing on pride in how she had established and was running her own business. Importantly, it is not about pushing negative emotions away, right? Rather, moving forward necessitated truly acknowledging these difficult feelings and then refocusing on more helpful ones. Focus on meaningful non-work identities. It's easy to feel like your job is your whole identity, especially when you just lost a great one, or when it feels like it's the only thing anyone sees when they look at you. Important, but research has shown that it's very possible to have multiple coexisting identities at the same time, As such, if you are uncomfortable with your current identity at work, say, focusing on other aspects of your identity can be an effective strategy to help you get through difficult transition. Another example, say a woman who had left her corporate life explained that it was important to her that she was able to be a mom now and spend time with her kids. Some of the immigrant professionals also say like this, if they are struggling with the downward occupational transitions, very possible, how they felt better after learning into their parental roles. Instead of focusing on their discontentment with their current jobs or on their resentment at having to give up their past careers, they were able to find meaning in defining themselves by their roles as providers. Similarly, a senior citizen behind a desk job would describe how the simple act of being a good uncle by playing soccer with his nephew and niece helped him move past his negative self-image and envisioning a better version of himself. Others more focused on their roles within their communities, on volunteer positions, or on activism. Reminding yourself of your full range of identities can help you focus on the positive. Realize that you are more than what you were or do. Keep moving forward. Last one, fifth. Don't be afraid to fantasize by focusing on the concrete positives in your life. It can be help main great power in your world. This is in line with some of the research that we have studied, concept of nostalgia, which refers to yearning not for an idealized version of the past, but for a similar utopic future. In case it's found that some of the people who were comfortable in their new identities were those who imagined that their circumstances are only a stepping stone on the path to their ultimate, if objectively unrealistic future. The surprisingly element of this strategy is that it still seemed to work. Even if the world they imagined was truly fantasy, an abstract future could daydream about, often without much basis in reality. Rather than detailing specific plans or tactics to realize these dreams, now the survey participants who took this approach fantasized about an alternate future as if it would definitely happen, despite seeming to have no intention of actually pursuing it. Say another example, person who was forced to shift his job from say a network engineer to a taxi driver explained why he felt good about his situation in saying, in future I have plans to get a computer job. Not now, maybe after 10 years. Then I'll definitely go for my own business. See, this is really different because he has been driving and moved on to a tangible, but he has now tangible plans, yet vague possibility of being in a very bright future. It made it more presentable. Similarly, many people enjoy window shopping or browsing vacation spots online, wistfully imagining an experience that they are unlikely to ever have. It may seem counterintuitive, but our research suggests that in modern innovation, this can actually be an effective means of coping with a challenging situation and getting mentally unstuck. Of course, this should not be misconstrued as an argument against working to improve a bad situation, but the practical work of planning and implementing positive change can be draining, time consuming, and if overdone, paralyzing. Balancing the difficult task of accepting and improving reality with a healthy dose of fantasy can be very critical, ensuring that you stay motivated. Whether you are taking on a new role, shifting careers, or going through a major life change, like those experiences by people in our interviews or wherever, it's never easy to let go of the past identity, but left unchecked, identity paralysis can threaten both your career prospects and your mental health. To avoid getting stuck and truly move forward in our lives, we must acknowledge and embrace our current identities, our past selves, and everything in between. So these were a few basics how to get and you move on in a major life-changing event which you want. Be sure to like and subscribe my channel for updates to this topic plus host of other topics. Beyond this, if you are interested in more of these videos, do comment below, and thank you for following this video till the very end.